last section, two topics we want to cover. The first one is, as business owner, all of you cares about your employees, and the human resources function has never been so important for any business as it is in today's context. So we have the pleasure and privilege, if we go to the next slide, to have Deb Tenenbaum, our Senior Vice President, Chief People Officer at AppDirect, to share some thoughts and best practice on how to handle this situation with your employees. Deb?
Great, thank you, Renee, so much. It's a pleasure to be here talking with you all. If we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I wanted to start off by saying, what is HR? It's a little bit more, and we're seeing it now in this turbulent time that we're in, that it's more than just hiring and firing people. It's really around building the organization's capabilities to deliver the business results through engagement and enablement of people. It's a lot of words there to just say helping people, creating an environment where people can do their best work. And so some of you may be the Chief People Officer as a business owner. And what you're seeing through the COVID-19 situation is that it's really rattling the engagement and enablement of probably your employees. Enablement through having the right tools to do their job, but just engagement in a variety of different ways. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So really COVID-19 has this huge impact that not only the personal health and safety, so we're seeing the anxiety that that's bringing, and then what Mark and Aaron just spoke around, this financial health, not only of your business, but also people's personal financial impact. And we're seeing even in our AppDirect family that there's many individuals that become the primary provider because they have family businesses that are feeling the impact and beginning to go out of business. And this provides huge anxiety. And then there's all this information that's out there, tons of different, I don't know about you, but my email every day is new things about COVID. And individuals are getting these too, but what's fact and what's fiction? And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to put this webinar together for you, is to help you organize all the information swirl that's out there. And then this new phenomenon that the whole country is seeing, that if we're privileged enough to have the ability to work remotely, what is that? And adjusting to this change. And then always having in the back of your mind this job stability as you're seeing friends and family getting impacted by it. And then quite frankly, just the fear of the unknown. And put this all together, business owners, your leaders, and you're actually employees first. So as your employees are going through all of this and trying to sort it out, you too are going through all of this and trying to sort it out. So it's important that you provide the right support structure systems, taking care of yourself, so you can also help to take care of your employees. Next slide, please. So what do employees need during times of uncertainty? And just like you here today, information. Information helps us find comfort, some amount of anchoring in a time of uncertainty. And so having timely communications, we're very passionate about that here at AppDirect, and making sure that we are communicating on a proactive, timely cadence. And I would say the authenticness of messaging is really important, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Not having a PR spin on it or having an agenda behind it, but really having an authentic message to your employees. And providing employees outlets for voicing their concerns and answers, and actually to be able to have focus during this time of uncertainty on the business. We'll go into a little bit more on each one of these. Next slide, please. So I kind of look at three pillars to the COVID-19 communications. When this in February, talking to Nick and Dan and the other leaders, it was like, what do our employees need to have the components of communication? And one is just on the external situation. So taking all this information that we are experiencing and what's the most relevant to our employees. So providing COVID updates to them. also showing and displaying the social responsibility that employees have and why social distancing is so important and so impactful to our communities, to our merchants, our agents, our partners, and how to protect yourself if you or your family members do get impacted by COVID. Then the next bucket we saw is around the company and the financial stability. If we remember that slide of all the noise around that can provide insecurity and anxiousness to employees, one is around the financial stability. And so how is the business doing, and what do we need to be concerned of? And with that, as an employee, what are the business objectives? Are things changing now because the external environment is changing? So is our direction changing? Are our objectives changing? And in times of uncertainty, employees like to understand focus, and that is what's in their control. So keeping people focused on their own immediate OKRs, goals, objectives, that helps too. And then finally, this third pillar is around employee support. I think through the COVID situation, making sure that employees understand the benefits that are provided to them, medical benefits. If there's telemedicine options. So if you provide in the US, if you provide healthcare coverage to your employees, 99% of all of the major medical providers have a telemedicine component to it. And this is really important through COVID because there is such an impact on the doctor and the hospital system that being able to utilize telemedicine is very helpful to monitor symptoms that you may be experiencing. And then what are all the other resources available to your employees? For example, many times in your benefits, we'll have what's called an EAP, an employee assistance program, which is really important because that helps with emotional wellness during this time, and anxiety and the stresses involved. Many people need to be focusing as much on their emotional well-being as their physical well-being. Next slide, please. So if we talked about the timely communication, authentic messaging, this is just some of the components, I think, as you're putting together your communications to your employees, is that what we found inside of just the sincerity that we're in this together, and that's really what's quite a phenomenon for us on this global pandemic, is that we are in this together. So as a leader, as a business owner, you're in the boat. And so have that messaging be part of your communications. I don't want to lose sight of listening is a really, really powerful leadership tool. Many times we don't engage in dialogue with employees because we're afraid that we won't have the answers. And many of us don't have the answers for what's going on right now because it's unprecedented and it's an unknown. But that shouldn't stop us from having those conversations with employees and just listening to their concerns and really connecting on a human component. And it's not about having the answers, it's about being vulnerable. And I think effective leadership in this time is being authentic and showing your vulnerabilities, of sharing when it's impacting you on a personal level, helps people really bond together and move forward through this time. Next slide, please. So how do you create focus, if that's one of the areas through this period with your employees? One is, when everything's rocking around you, what's within my control is how I work within my day-to-day job. So 30, 60, 90 days. And 90 days may seem very far out there when we're in such this environment of the unknown. But I would start with 30 days. So what are the key things I should be working on? It's really important. And also communicate the business changes. Let people know that we need to be agile and adaptable through this time period. So your first 30 days, next month, it may change some, and that's okay as we get more information coming in. And always being aligned to the business objectives is very, very helpful, the overall business objectives. And then bottom line of all of this, to create focus, is you yourself setting the tone of calmness and being realistic. And that goes back to your authentic messaging. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of data, and I think the bottom line foundation, if I impart with you on anything to take away on this, is communicate, communicate, communicate. Don't let the unknown and feeling like you don't have all of the answers stop you from connecting with your employees, because in this time, it's even more important for us to communicate. Here's some examples of what we're doing within AppDirect and AppSmart with our employees. So we set up an email to solicit employee questions, COVID@appdirect.com, just as a vehicle to be able to respond back and forth. We established a wiki to share a page on our wiki. So it's just really a repository. Some of you may have intranets. You may have a way to post and have a bulletin board type of communication. If you do, I highly recommend that you leverage that. Conduct frequent, what we call town halls, which are really company meetings. We seem to do them almost on a weekly basis now. We have over 650 employees leveraging technology. We haven't skipped a beat. We've stepped into it. And really it's around what I talked about, those 3 pillars. We've been moving through those of social responsibility, how to take care of yourself, and emotional well-being. I encourage you to stay connected with your employees on a one-to-one basis, just checking in with them, asking how they're doing, and use that skill of listening and just hear what's going on with them. We have this amazing technology that we're all experiencing, having virtual chats and roundtables, and I encourage you to utilize either Google Hangouts, Zoom, to be able to help have these virtual discussions. And then you can take them into personal connections with technology. You know, being socially isolated it's more about distancing. It doesn't mean that you're not socially connected anymore. And there's a variety of ways that you can celebrate and be connected with your employees. Some of the things that I had put on this slide are things that we're doing now. Last week, we celebrated all the March birthdays, and I can tell you it was very interesting watching us all sing happy birthday with the bandwidth of about 100 people, but we did it. We have wine clubs, this is my little thing, I call them Zoom tails, cocktails, but it's celebrations that we have there. We're having a talent show with folks. We also, for the emotional well-being, we do meditation and yoga as in a chat form too. So I think the sky's the limit with thinking of innovative ways to stay connected. But again, it's about connection and communication with your employees through this time. So I hope you found this helpful, and I will turn it back over to Renee.